What is up, Revivalists? How's it going? Hope you're all good. Simon here from CD Revival, and today we're going to do my latest in my ranking series. And today it is the ranking of all the studio albums of Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness. Obviously, massively famous singer. One of the first singers that I ever got into as far as like metal's concerned. So yeah, I've always like followed his career all the way through from his like early solo years. I was a bit young for Sabbath at the time. Obviously, he's the original member, original vocalist for Black Sabbath. He famously left after their Never Say Die album, replaced by Ron and James Dio, and since then he's gone from kind of strength to strength, I guess, doing his own solo career. So he's had his ups and downs. He's had a few different band changes. He's always had decent musicians, in my opinion. Some people have got their favourites, and and rightly so. And he's done 12. I would count 12 studio albums. Supposedly 13. One of them is like the Undercover album, which I don't have and I don't particularly care for. I'm not a great fan of cover albums, which if you followed my channel you'll know. So won't be ranking Undercover in the ranking at all, but everything else is pretty much open season, so I'll go through them, count down from 12 to 1, 12 being my least favourite, 1 being my favourite. So I'll tell you a little bit about each one, show you the albums, etc, etc. So starting off at number 12, my number 12 is Ordinary Man, which is his 12th album from 2020. This one came out, and it had been 10 years since his last album at the time. That's basically the album and all the bits and pieces. 10 years since the last album before this one, so it came a bit out of the blue, and it's produced by Andrew Watt, and who does do most of the instrumentation on it as well, so he's pretty much all the way through it. You've got Chad Smith does the drums, Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer, Duff McKagan on bass as well for most of the tracks. Slash pops up, Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, he pops up as well. But in the main, the sort of the guitars and what have you are Andrew Watt. Post Malone features on here as well. It's not a great album really. I do enjoy most of his albums, but this one for me leaves me a little bit cold. There's not too many good tracks on it. The best tracks on here are the title track, which features Elton John on vocals as well. That one is it's a ballad, but it's a good tune. Under the Graveyard, which was the first single, once again, it's not an amazing tune, but it's got a good, like, quite a heavy guitar part in the chorus as well, and it's pretty decent. And probably the other track that I would recommend is the track Holy for Tonight, which is another ballady song, but once again shows off Ozzy's he's got an ear for a melody. A lot of people slag off Ozzy and say that he doesn't really do much, he just sings other people's stuff, and you know, it's true, he doesn't write his own music, he doesn't write the lyrics, but the vocals and the vocal melodies are his, and that's what I think makes his music, like, you know, what makes his music like really good and what makes it stand out is his ear for good vocal melodies, and he's had that all the way through his career. Holy for Tonight, I think it's got really good melody on it as well. They're the main 3 tracks that I would recommend. Everything else, Straight to Hell, All My Life, they're okay. Scary Little Green Men is okay. They're okay tracks. They're not standouts. I say not an awful album. His voice does sound a bit over-processed as well on this one as well, so it's not superb, and it's my least favourite, so that's at number 12. My number 11 is the previous album before that one, which is Scream, which is his 11th album, and that is from 2010. Produced by Ozzy and Kevin Churko, who did a few albums with him, a couple at least anyway. Gus G on guitars on this one, the only album that he plays guitars on for Ozzy, that is. Rob Blasco Nicholson on bass, and Kevin Churko himself on drums. Once again, it's an okay album. It's first album without Zach for a while, and I think it's, yeah, a little bit bland here and there. Not loads and loads of good tracks. There's a few decent ones on there. I was originally going to be called Soul Sucker, and that is one of the better tracks on here. Also, the start track Let It Die is pretty decent, and also Digging Me Down, which I think is a really good track. Also, the title track Scream is okay. Not too much else to recommend about it really. It's an okay album, pretty bland. So the tracks that I mentioned are by far, I think, the best ones. Let me know if you think differently, but for me it's my number 11 and doesn't really do a lot for me, to be honest with you. Number 10 now. We're just going back in the sort of sequence really of the years. Black Rain from 2007. This is his 10th album. This one, once again, produced by Kevin Churko and Ozzy. This does feature Zakk Wylde on guitar. And also Blasko on bass again. Mike Bordin does drums for this. This is the last album that Mike Bordin did drums for. Ex-Faith No More drummer. Good drummer, to be fair. Once again, not a bad album, quite heavy this one as well. It's got some good, because obviously you've got Zack's heavy guitar tone on it, which I'm a big fan of. Zakk Wylde, love his work with Black Label, love his work with Ozzy. A lot of people don't really care for his particular blend of, you know, pinch harmonics and chugging guitars, which, you know, he's got a trademark sound. You either like it or you don't. I really do, and so it does make it for quite a heavy album, this one. Best tracks for me, Almighty Dollar I really do like. Not Going Away is a decent one. I Don't Want to Stop as well, which was the single, that's pretty good too. Black Rain, the title track's okay. And, you know, they're the best ones really. Everything else is kind of a bit meh. Some good riffs and, you know, pretty heavy, but nothing really to sort of write home about. So Black Rain, that is my number 10 from 2007. My number 9 now is his most recent album, which is Patient Number 9. And that's his, say, 13th album, 12th in, you know, really, not including the cover one, from 2022. Produced by Andrew Watt again. This one, yeah, a lot better than Ordinary Man. A lot of better tracks on it. It's got a plethora of guest musicians on here. Zakk Wylde plays guitar on quite a few tracks. Jeff Beck's on 2 tracks. Tony Iommi plays on 2 tracks. Mike McCready, Eric Clapton's on a track. Josh Homme's on a track. Robert Trujillo is on a couple, I think. Once again, you've got Duff and Chad Smith, and also Taylor Hawkins as well. Yeah, a good all-round. There's got 13 tracks on this, so this is one of his longest albums. Started work straight away after Ordinary Man, so probably had a few ideas left over from that. But yeah, really like this one. I think this is by far the best that he's done since, well, you know, at least since 2007, obviously, hence the ranking. Key tracks, the title track is pretty decent, with Jeff Beck, plays with brilliant guitar on it. One of Those Days, I really like that one. That's got Eric Clapton on that one as well, really catchy. Once again, you've got that melody coming on. Mr. Darkness and Nothing Feels Right, they're both Zakk Wylde guitar, they're both really cool. Degradation Rules with Tony Iommi, that's excellent as well. It's got the harmonica on it, so reminiscent of, like, you know, old school, like The Wizard from Sabbath. So well worth checking that one out as well. But in general, the songs are all fairly good. Those ones are, I say, my favourites. And I think this is a worthwhile album, especially after Ordinary Man. I thought it probably wouldn't be necessarily worth listening to, but definitely, yeah, a lot better than Ordinary Man, and well worth checking out. My number 9, Patient Number 9. And that is from last year, 2022. Was in my sort of top albums of last year as well, to be fair. My number 8 now, Down to Earth. This is his 8th album from 2001. This one came out, produced by Tim Palmer. Zakk Wylde on guitars, Rob Trujillo on bass, and Mike Bordin on drums. Quite a heavy album. Once again, there'd been quite a sort of hiatus from the previous album to this. I think it was like about 6 years or so. So he'd not done anything for a while. Came back with quite a heavy album, this one. Key tracks are Get Me Through, which is I think the original single. Facing Hell's really cool. Black Illusion I really like, but yeah, it does sound like it's quite Black Label-y, this album, to be honest with you. It's got Zakk Wylde's stamp all over it. Running Out of Time, really good track as well. But yeah, some great melodies. Takes a little while getting into, but yeah, super. Yeah, it's got some really good heavy stuff on it. Ozzy sings well, and well worth checking out. Cool album, man. So yeah, now we're on to my number 7. My number 7, I have got Osmosis. A lot of people don't really like this album. This is his 7th album from 1995, so the one prior to Down to Earth. Zakk Wylde on guitar. Geezer Butler is on bass for this one, and Dean Castronovo plays the drums on this one. Once again, heavy album. It's got Zakk's guitar playing all over it. Geezer's bass sounds great. Michael Beenhorn produces it, and yeah, really enjoyable actually. As I say, it took me a little while to get into, because it is, yeah, I don't know, it just takes a little while to get into. I don't know why. Best tracks. The opening track, Perry Mason's one of Ozzy's best tracks of all time. Super heavy, just really bangs. Really good one. Ghost Behind My Eyes is really cool. Tomorrow, My Jekyll Doesn't Hide, probably the pick of them, but yeah, some great riffs. My Little Man, I think, is co-written with Steve Vai. He was chatting on recently about he did a whole album around this time with Ozzy, and I think he pretty much got shut down regarding those remarks. But anyway, good album, Osmosis. Definitely a bit, I think, underrated. And yeah, don't sleep on this one. Give it a good check out. It's worth it, man. It's worth a listen. Really cool. So that's my number 7. So now we're into the top 6. These are all pretty decent, to be honest with you. Kind of hurts me to put this one at number 6, because I have got a lot of fondness for it. It's The Ultimate Sin from 1995. Produced by Ron Nevison. This one features Jakey Lee on guitars, the second one to feature Jake. Phil Soussan on bass, and Randy Castillo on drums. But yeah, got a lot of, I bought this when it came out, had this on vinyl. And this was definitely sort of my era of, like, you know, when I was a teenager and well into metal. Yeah, just some great tracks on it. A bit overproduced, a little bit poppy. It's in that sort of. So it came out in it didn't come out in 1995. It came out in 1985. Apologies for that. Yeah, talking rubbish there. 1985. Yeah, quite glammy of its time. Basically, there was that sort of the if you watch any of the videos from this album, it's yeah, comical. The stuff he wears, you know, big sort of sequins and glitter and all the rest of it. But that was the thing at the time. Key track, Shot in the Dark, which was the original single, superb. Phil Soussan co-wrote that one as well, there was a bit of a hoo-ha about that. The title track is excellent. Secret Loser's really good. Never is a really cool one, and things like Lightning Strikes. Yeah, I just pretty much do like all the songs on here, really, but it is quite a poppy sound. Ozzy has kind of said that he doesn't really like this one, but I think that's a lot of it down to Ron Nevison's production, who was doing a lot of that kind of. I think he produced like the Heart album at that time as well, so he was quite a sort of pop metal-y kind of guy, but I guess that's what they were going for. But yeah, really cool cover as well. He's done a lot. I think a lot of his album covers are really good. And that's my number 6 from 1985, The Ultimate Sin, 4th album that he did. My number 5 now is No More Tears, from 1991. This is his 6th album. Maybe some people would have this higher. And it is really cool, can't argue with that. But I think his best ones are all really strong, but say in the top 5. Produced by Dwayne Barron and John Purdell. Zach on guitar, Bob Daisley on bass, returning from, he was on the first couple of albums. Randy Castillo once again on drums. Second album with Zach, and yeah, some really cool stuff on here. A couple of tracks written with Lemmy as well. Mama I'm Coming Home being one of them, which is a really, really excellent ballad. The title track's super cool. Desire's really good. Time After Time, Road to Nowhere, Hellraiser, another one written by Lemmy as well, which does feature on March or Die, I think, the Motorhead album. I discussed that in my Motorhead ranking, but the Ozzy one, I think it suits his voice better. But yeah, I think this is his best-selling album of his solos as well. So, but yeah, well worth a spin. Mr. Tinker Train, the sort of opening track, that's well worth a listen as well. I Don't Want to Change the World. Every track on it is really cool, apart from Zombie Stomp, which I don't particularly care for. It's a bit of a cheese fest. But yeah, super good album. No More Tears. Need this in your collection. That's my number 5. Right, we are on to the top 4 now. Number 4, some people would not rate this as highly. I've got, it's basically No Rest for the Wicked, which is from 1988. And this is his 5th album. First one with Zakk Wylde. Also features Bob Daisley on bass and Randy Castillo on drums. Produced by Roy Thomas Baker and Keith Olsen. 21-year-old Zakk Wylde, like complete unknown. This is his first album with Ozzy. And he's not quite as down-tuned as he is on a lot of other stuff. But yeah, I love this album. I had this like pretty much the day it came out. I think I was, would have been 16 at the time. Yeah, awesome. Do love it. I've got a lot of great memories of just, and also I saw Ozzy on this tour as well. So it's the first tour with Zakk Wylde. Geezer Butler was on bass as well during the tour, and was just really cool at Hammersmith Odeon. Really enjoyed that. Best tracks, there's I love all the tracks on here really, but Devil's Daughter is one of my favourites. Demon Alcohol I really like. Bloodbath in Paradise, Breaking All the Rules. Miracle Man's really cool. Fire in the Sky, Tattoo Dancer. Do love every track on here, and got a lot of fondness for this. Did have this on vinyl, as I say, when it came out, and so yeah, probably rate it a lot higher just because of sentimental reasons than a lot of people would have it. But for me, it's my number 4, and that's it's my ranking, so it's at number 4. No Rest for the Wicked, 1988. Top 3, fairly predictable. Number 3. Bark at the Moon from 1983, 3rd album. First one with Jakey Lee. And yeah, super good. Really cool video for this one, produced by Max Norman and Ozzy and Bob Daisley. Jakey Lee on guitar, Bob Daisley on bass, and Tommy Aldridge on drums. Just like pretty much bangers all the way through. Couple of tracks, well, Slow Down, I really don't like that track. I think that's probably one of the worst tracks he's done. This has got the CD bonus tracks on it, which weren't on the original album, which is Spiders, which I think was on one of, because there was different, either the American and the European version. I think one of them had Spiders on it, which I think was the American version, which didn't have Slow Down anyway. Spiders is okay. One at the B-side as well, which is quite comical. But yeah, title track's awesome. Waiting for Darkness, I love that track. And You're No Different is awesome. Rock and Roll Rebel, excellent track. Center of Eternity, Even So Tired, which a lot of people slate. I think that's a really cool, that was one of the first like metal singles I ever bought, even though it's not really super metal. I still have the 7-inch like double gatefold pack of that as well. So yeah, really good album, iconic. This is probably the first album that was Ozzy's new album, like the Randy stuff I got into afterwards, just because I was too young, I guess, at the time. Would have been like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. But for this one, I remember this. So yeah, I was like 11, so just starting to get into metal at that time. Bark at the Moon, excellent album. That's my number 3. My number 2, second album, Diary of a Madman from 1981, produced by Max Norman and Ozzy and Randy Rhoads. who was obviously the guitarist for this one, tragically died in a plane accident. Bob Daisley on bass, Lee Kerslake on drums. Excellent album. A lot of people have this as their number one. I don't think it's as strong as my number one album, but still an excellent, excellent album. Key tracks are obviously the title track, which is superb, probably one of the best tracks he's ever done. Believer is excellent. Over the Mountain, Flying High Again. Tonight is superb as well. Can't Kill Rock and Roll. They're all, you know, really, really cool. But yeah, a couple of tracks are not quite as good, and my number one's just pretty much strong all the way through. So, Diary of a Madman, really excellent album, and easily my number two, and from 1981. So, yeah, superb. Randy Rhoads, legendary guitar player, excellent guitar work on this album. It's an excellent album. So obviously my number one is his first solo album, Blizzard of Oz, from 1980. The whole band produced this one, supposedly. And yeah, Randy Rhoads, Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake, the classic original lineup. All the tracks on this are superb. So starts off I Don't Know, superb. Crazy Train, even Goodbye to Romance, which is the sort of ballady one. I still really like that. Got the instrumental D, Randy Rhoads guitar, which is, you know, short but sweet. Suicide Solution, which is an amazing track. Mr. Crowley, that's a 5 out of 5. The two weakest tracks are No Bone Movies and Steal Away the Night, but they're still okay. They're still pretty decent. And you've also got Revelation Mother Earth, which is a stunning track also. Amazing debut album, and yeah, right, you know, it's going to be number one or number two pretty much in most people's Ozzy rankings, I would imagine. So, yeah, excellent album, superb stuff once again. So now I've got a few live albums of his as well. Speak of the Devil. This was the first Ozzy album I ever heard, and obviously it's not even Ozzy stuff on here, where it is, but it's Black Sabbath songs. All the way through. I think Brad Gillis, the Night Ranger guitarist, played guitar on this album. Obviously it's live. But yeah, a friend of mine had this and I was intrigued. So I was just starting to get into sort of rock and metal at the time. And he lent me this double vinyl and whacked it on, and it was weird because even though I wasn't really familiar with like Sabbath, as it were, listening to it, it's like a lot of the tracks were very familiar to me, so I'd obviously heard them at some point. But yeah, I loved it, you know, and it really got me hooked and, you know, into Ozzy and pretty much. So, but yeah, it's all Sabbath numbers, you know, maybe not as good as Sabbath would do them, but like, you know, 11, 12-year-old me did not know that at the time. So, yeah, a lot of fond memories for this album. Really cool, just, you know, good all the way through, just Sabbath songs really, Ozzy singing it in Ozzy's band. So Talk of the Devil, Speak of the Devil, I think it's called Talk of the Devil in America, Speak of the Devil over here, but I'm not sure. But yeah, excellent, really like that one. He released the the Randy Rhoads tribute as well, and that's another really good one, which is obviously, you know, on the Diary of a Madman tour with Randy Rhoads on guitar and that band. So that's really good. So yeah, a lot of really cool stuff on it. Double CD as well. So yeah, just hits from the first couple of albums really. A couple of studio outtakes as well. So that's really cool. I have got the Ozzy Live and Loud, which was with Zakk Wylde. I think this is on the I don't even know what tour this is from. I'm going to say probably Osmosis, but don't even quote me on that. But yeah, still really cool. That's a double disc as well. Fat Box, got that from a car boot sale, I think. So that one, and the last live album I've got of his is the Live at Budokan one, which once again has got Zakk Wylde on there. Single disc on that one, but yeah, still pretty good. And the last one I've got is a bit of a curio, which is the Back to Oz EP. Inside it's got the sort of Ozzy Sabbath family tree as well. I think this came out around about the same time as No Rest for the Wicked, but it's got no tracks from that on there. It's got The Ultimate Sin, it's got Bark at the Moon and Mr. Crowley and Diary of a Madman. So 4 tracks, one each from the first 4 albums. So yeah, interesting one, but I've had that for years. There's the disc for that as well. So that is it for Ozzy. So let me know what you think of my Ozzy ranking. Are you a fan? Let me know what your favourites are. Give me your rankings. It's always interesting to read through and check people's views on what they think are their favourites. I think it's pretty set in stone what the best ones are, but the other ones can vary. You either love some and you hate some. And various guitarists you either like or hate. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know what you think. What do you think of his new stuff as well? Will he do another album again? We don't know. There's Patient Number 9 could be his last one, but you never know really. He sort of said he was going to give up touring and never would tour again, and now they're saying that he might actually do that. So he just changed his mind literally. I think he did his sort of farewell tour originally back in, I don't know, about 1990 or something. So we shall see what happens. But yeah, thanks again for watching. If you like the video, press like, and if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. So that does really help out a lot. And I will catch you all next time. That's pretty much O done with now. So we'll be on to P next time. There's a lot of stuff in P, to be honest with you. And I've also got a massive Prince collection to get through, which Prince is probably my favourite artist of all time. So if you know me, you'll already know that. But I can't do like a full ranking because there's like 40 odd albums and it'd just be ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it an album at a time and just go through those and like basically review the albums, and maybe I'll do like a sort of blanket ranking at the end. But if you're not a fan of Prince, which not everyone is, I'll still be doing my normal other ranking videos and the normal like showing my collection as well. So make sure you keep watching, and I'll be doing both sets of videos at the same time. So cool, thanks a lot. Have a great Easter weekend, and I'll catch you all next time. Take it steady. Cheers.